calling this meeting to order in the Planning Commission on November 9th, 2023, 4 p.m. Welcome, everyone. So tonight, we want to make sure we respect everybody's time, all the citizens, staff, and board members here tonight, so we will stick to the structured schedule. Before we get started, we do have a new board member here. He's stuck in traffic, but should be here momentarily, and just wanted to give him a warm welcome, Mr. Ahmed Samad. He should be here momentarily. Also, we have some bittersweet news. We have one of our commissioners is his last meeting here, and Commissioner Paul Latour. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We just want to definitely thank you for your service and your commitment here to the board and as well as to the city. And so we, from all of us, we definitely appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Good. Okay. All right. So at this particular time, can we get a roll call?
Samad, Brown,
Here.
Haynes,
Here.
Latour,
Here.
McDonald,
Here.
Person,
Here.
Thomas,
Here.
Vogel,
Here.
Vickers,
Present.
Hart. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. Now, can we get a approval of the minutes, please?
We have a motion to approve last month's minutes.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and second. Could you please? Yes, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Samad, Brown,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, moving forward, can we please have a reading of the consent agenda, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to note that the following items have been deferred to the December 14th, 2023 agenda at the applicant's request. Item 3, S1953. Item 4, Z9848. Item 5, Z9850. Item 10, Z9858. Item 12, Z9795-A. Item 19, Z9853. Following is the consent agenda for the Little Rock Planning Commission for November 9th, 2023. Item B, Z7500-J, Hamilton Station Phase 2, revised PCD, north of 14524 Cantrell Road. Item 2, S1952, 36th Street and Shackelford Addition, preliminary plat, southeast corner of West 36th Street and Shackelford Road.
Sir, wasn't that pulled off?
Item 2,
The Copper Run?
that's,
Item
1 is Copper Run.
Okay, I apologize.
No problem.
Has one been pulled off?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 6, Z9857, rezoning from R2 to C4, 1000 Interstate 30. Item 9, Z9856, Celebrate Maya Project, PD-O, 1722 Wolf Street. Item 11, Z9851, Pendleton, PD-R, 1908 South State Street. Item 13, Z3218-B, Haddock 1, STR2, PD-C, 1001 McMath Avenue. Item 14, Z3218-C, Haddock 2, STR2, PD-C, 1003 McMath Avenue. Item 15, Z8061-C, Southern Magnolia House, STR2, PD-C, 1301 South Cumberland Street. Item 16, Z9293-A, Carmen, STR2, PD-C, 523 East 6th Street. Item 17, Z9849, Lurkowski, STR2, PD-C, 1917 South Elm. Item 18, Z9852, McDonald, STR2, PD-C, 2205 West 13th Street. Item 20, Z9860, Matthews 1, STR2, PD-C, 1001 West Charles Bussey Avenue. Item 21, Z9860-A, Matthews 2, STR2, PD-C, 1003 West Charles Bussey Avenue. Number 22, Z9860-B, Matthews 3, STR2, PD-C, 1005 West Charles Bussey Avenue. Item 23, Z9860-C, Matthews 4, STR2, PD-C, 1011-A, West Charles Bussey Avenue. Item 24, Z9860-D, Matthews 5, STR2, PD-C, 1011B, West Charles Bussey Avenue. Item 25, Z9860E, Matthews 6, STR2, PD-C, 2004-2006 South Chester Street. Item 26, Z9860-F, Matthews 7, STR2, PD-C, 2010 South Chester Street. And item 27, the 2024 Planning Commission calendar. And that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Brad. I'd like to make a motion of the consent approval.
Second.
A motion has been made and a second. Roll call, please.
Samad? Brown?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Latour?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Hart? Motion passes.
Thank you. If your item number was listed on the consent approval, you are more than welcome to leave or stay at our meeting. So at this time, we will give just a quick moment, and then we will move to our regular agenda. Now, on our regular agenda, we do have some items that we have changed up to do to respective of time. So the order will be as follow. Item number 1. The next one would be item C. The next one is item D. The next one is A, then A1. And then we have the last two, which is item number 7, and then item 8 as follows. All right, so the first one we will start off here with is Item number 1, S-1844-F.
Item 1, S1844-F, Copper Run, Phases 7 and 8, preliminary plat, south end of Copper Drive, south of Pride Valley Road. The applicant proposes to subdivide 27.46 acres of property into 85 lots for single-family development. Subdivision will include phases 7 through 8 of Copper Run residential development as follows. Phase 7, 41 lots, part of Tract O. Phase 8, 44 lots, part of Tract O. The proposed lots will range in size from 0.13 acres to 1.7 acres. There will be 5,120 linear feet of new streets with the proposed development. A 90-foot wide right-of-way will be dedicated along the south property line of the overall property to accommodate a future east-west minor arterial roadway as shown on the city's master street plan. A 30-foot wide secondary access will extend from Ironwood Way between lots 134 and 135 to the future east-west minor arterial roadway. The applicant is requesting a variance to advance grade Phase 8 with grading of Phase 7. The applicant notes that the advanced grading of Phase 8 will reduce the amount of earth and material that will have to be hauled across city streets. Staff supports this advanced grading variance request. Sections 36-254D 1 through 3 of the city's zoning ordinance requires a minimum front setbacks of 25 feet, a minimum rear building setback of 25 feet, and minimum side setbacks of 8 feet or 10% of the lot width. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow 20-foot front and rear setbacks and a 5-foot side setbacks for the lots that are wider than 50 feet. Staff is supportive of the variance request as the proposed setbacks are the same as those existing within the Copper Run subdivision. The applicant is also requesting a variance to allow a reduced lot area for several of the lots within phases 7 and 8. Several of the interior lots, that includes lots 302 through 320 and lots 323 through 341, have proposed lot area of 5,750 square feet. The minimum lot area required by the code is 6,000 square feet. The requested variance is a very minor decrease in lot area. Staff supports the variance request. To staff's knowledge, there are no outstanding issues associated with proposed preliminary plat. Staff is supportive of the proposed preliminary plat. The continuation of the Copper Run single-family subdivision should have no adverse effect on the surrounding properties. Staff recommends approval of the requested preliminary plat, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E in the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, would the applicant please come up, please? And just for notation, the applicant as well as the opposition will have 20 minutes respectively on both sides. Of course, you don't have to take the full 20 minutes, but we just want to let you know and we will have time record on for keeping. Yes, please, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Brian Dale from Joe White & Associates, and I'd like to introduce a few people with our team. There's Scott Hurley with the developer's representative here. We also have Don Albert, the developer's attorney. He's sitting here. The staff did an excellent presentation of the application that's before you. We've worked closely with the staff, the Little Rock Fire Department, and the mayor on this application to make sure it's a great application for the city of Little Rock. We'd like to reserve the rest of our time for any opposition that issues may bring up.
Well, it's noted. Thank you very much, sir. And we do have some cards we do have some oppositions here, and we have several different cards. I don't know if we have somebody that's going to speak for everyone here, but we do have a number of cards. I can call them up in the order that I have, starting off with.
One thing that the city needs to know, and I've spoken with Mr. Albert about this beforehand, and you might want to stand up and say something. There is an improvement district dispute in this area, and y'all have dealt with that before. litigation has been handled, a verdict has been rendered. However, that verdict is on appeal. When the last subdivision portion of this or phase came up, the agreement was that once a certificate of occupancy is granted for a structure, then there would be the time to start assessing any improvement district fees. The challengers have put up a bond of some $300,000 to help verify those fees. So if the Arkansas Supreme Court says pay up, then they get paid. If the Arkansas Supreme Court says they're not going to get paid, then they won't be paid, but this will be treated the same as the other phase that was approved previously.
Thank you very much, sir, for that input here.
Mr. Carpenter said that I should stand up and say something, and I will. He is
excuse me.
absolutely correct.
Excuse me, sir, one second here. Were you finished, sir, with everything that you had to say?
That was the issue I thought should be
Okay.
considered before you get into anything else. Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm Don Albert. I represent the developer, and Mr. Carpenter is absolutely and completely and totally correct, always. And we agree that we will do that.
Thank you.
Can we get that in bronze or gold so I can give my wife? That would.
Well, this is the season. So. All right, so we have some oppositions here, and we're going to go ahead and accordingly, and definitely with our timekeeping. The first one up, and please forgive me if I mispronounce the name. I have a Cindy Albending? Alberdette. All right, yes, okay. The next one up, we have Ross Phillips.
Good afternoon.
Again, I will say this, Mr. Phillips, that there is a 20-minute total.
I've got, yeah.
Okay, yes, sir.
I understand.
Go ahead.
I'll try to make it brief. I represent the Spring Valley Manor POA, and I would like to make sure that, as they were saying about get this in gold, is that language about when we were here on phase 6, there was language that said subject to the resolution of the legal issues that we have. Is that in this ordinance?
It will be.
It will be?
Yes.
Okay. I believe you, Tom. Okay. As always, we were in opposition from the POA in phase 6. We're in opposition on phase 7 and 8. We do not feel like that this is, until this situation is resolved, but I'll pass on to that issue. The issues I have right now is something dealing with the process. I have some questions for the Director Collins. Could you explain a little bit to me on the process? We're here for a preliminary plat. And when this developer, if he gets approval and he does the subdivision, who approves the final plat?
Per ordinance, it is the Director of Planning and Development or their designee.
Okay, so that would be you, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. So in between the process of the preliminary plat being approved and the final plat, I'm assuming that the engineers and everybody goes out and checks that all of these kind of situations are potential situations from possibly drainage issues or land cut or fill issues or anything are being observed and followed up by staff at the planning and development.
Yes, we have staff during the construction for engineering staff to do all inspections to all public improvements and to do a final acceptance before they can file a final plat.
Okay, or if some situation comes up, say this developer wants to make some changes, they run into a topography issue or any kind of issue that could lead to needing to be a change, how does that work on your staff level if something needs to be changed?
Unless it is deemed a substantial change, it gets handled at the design level. An example of substantial changes is they cannot increase the number of lots. That would bring it back to the commission. But changes in road alignments or cuts and fills or grades, that is done because plans have not been developed yet, as long as they are done per the codes that are set.
And you said that's at a design level. Once again,
It's at the design level. We don't know right now their full design. We have preliminary, and it is just that, it's preliminary. Once the final design plans are submitted in, we review it per our codes, and if they meet the codes, then they are approved.
okay, but if they come back with you for an issue, if there is an issue from the preliminary plans or when they're doing the construction, is there a change or is there a process to make changes?
There's a process they present during their plans of what they want to modify per the grading permit, and is reviewed again at staff level.
Okay, but once they start construction, this is what I'm trying to figure out. Once they start construction, they come into an issue. Is there a change process for that?
Yes, that's the same process for the plans. They are submitted in either at the time we determine what that change is, and if plans need to be submitted, and then we review accordingly to the adopted codes.
Okay, and they submit those plans to you?
Yes, to our office.
Okay, and you have a team that looks at those plans, or is it just decided by you?
No, it is. We have an engineering division that reviews all plans.
Okay, I appreciate that. One other quick question. Under the administrative review guidelines that were initiated a few years ago, I've been trying to find out some sort of policies and procedures, some sort of guidelines about how that works. I can't seem to get anybody to give me information that if there is policies and procedures, or if there is some sort of guidelines under administrative review.
When you talk about administrative review, what are you specifically?
Well, I think I read a few years ago that they changed administrative review to expedite processes for people on development. If somebody comes to you or to your department and wants to make some simple changes, how's that? What I'm being told, that is done under administrative review process. There is an administrative review process. Who handles that process?
Our staff. That is submitted to our division, engineering division, and it's reviewed. And like I said, compared, it's easier to talk about things that go out and we cannot approve.
Right.
Like I said, if they can't increase one lot. So whatever the lots are set, that lot number is what it is. But if they make changes that may reduce the lots,
right,
and that's fine, that's staff level review. If they have a road tie, right? So if there's one road tie that's tying on and they're proposing a different location of that road tie or a different road in entirety from one side of the subdivision to the other side of the subdivision, then that we cannot approve that. That goes through, or if it's tied to the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code for fire access, for the number of lots that can be on a dead end or a cul-de-sac lot. If that changes, then that has to go through a different review process.
Okay, on your municipal codes, I know that you have limitations of what you can do on review, but is there any sort of guidelines under this policy of administrative review, anything written?
It is in the codes itself. It is when it's submitted in, there's a whole checklist of codes for like grading, slopes, erosion control that they must adhere to, and there's a time frame for that review. So every time there's a change, it comes in and we're given, I think, 10 days or so to review that and get that out. So it's in the codes itself. So when I say per the codes, the process and the timing and what needs to be submitted is inside those adopted codes.
Okay, I appreciate that. I've spent quite a bit of time looking at the codes and I just couldn't find anything under the administrative review.
There's no separate policy manual and procedures that's out there. It is within the code itself.
I won't waste any more time. I appreciate it. Thank you. But the POA, Spring Valley POA are very much against this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we have the next card here. It is Bill Hornsberger, if I'm saying that correctly.
Mr. Chair, let the record reflect that Commissioner Samad has joined the meeting.
Thank you very much, Brad. Yes, we have our newest member here, and I said it earlier here, Samad here, and we want to give everybody give him a nice warm just a welcome here, his first meeting here. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. All right. Sorry about that, sir.
Okay, I'm Bill Hertzberger. They said I had to mark for or against when I filled the card out. It's kind of like the question, you still beat your wife, yes or no? I didn't know how to answer it exactly, but I'm not really opposed to the project. I have a few concerns. I own property west and south of this project. Property that was platted either in 1912 or 1906 in lots, which is a little bit hard to believe. And I'd just like to maintain access to that property. I don't want to go in and make a multi-lot subdivision like Copper Run. That's not my goal at all. But those 5-acre tracts could be spun off as a single unit, single residential unit. And there's access on, I guess, Phase 8 going to the minor arterial. There could be access out of Phase 6 to one of my pieces. I'm not asking the developer to spend any money or do anything in that regard. I'd just like to clarify what access I have and how might I use that. There are a lot of parties involved here, me being one, the city being one, the developer being one, and then someday a POA. And the developer, he hopes after a few years he goes away and he doesn't have any responsibility. So I just want to clarify what access I have as far as vehicular access. Can I pave that? Can I bring in utilities and so on to those 5-acre tracts? That's my goal, is to clarify that going forward.
Thank you very much, sir. And I guess we will get that information to you, and we will have the applicant to clarify that. Thank you. All right. The next one we have is, and please forgive me if I mispronounced the name, is Kathan Watkins.
Thank you. I'm a commissioner on the Sewer Improvement District that the Cooper Run Subdivisions Collective are tying into. And they have so far refused to pay a tie-in fee, even though we have retained the right to collect that. We have a neighborhood that's about half the size of Cooper Run, and we've paid more than $2 million for the main sewer line. And we still have a bond loan on that line. So it's great that the city is talking with Don Elliott about getting us paid, but they have forgotten to consult with us. Please consult with the Sewer Improvement District 237, because we would like to have some say in what this says when it gets written. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watkins. And our last opposition on this item is Hal Kemp.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, city staff, let me start by thanking you for your service to our city and our community. My name is Hal Kemp. I'm an attorney here in town. I represent Real Properties, Inc., which owns property adjacent and approximate to the applicants' phases 7 and 8. We ask that the commission defer and/or deny approval of this application for a variety of reasons. I'll start with the first. The principal issue we object to is the realignment of the minor arterial road shown on the master street plan. We refer to it as Capitol Hill Boulevard Extension. That road, as shown on the plan, currently is approximately 2 miles long. It currently crosses the applicant's property about midway through phase 7 of this application and continues west all the way to intersecting a Rolling Road extension and then further west Stewart Road. I concede that the Planning Commission has the right to establish the actual location of this right-of-way. However, I believe the Commission serves a deliberative process in establishing that specific right-of-way. And I observe to you that this thing is 2 miles long, and yet the realignment that is being proposed is 600 feet. So I truly think this is the tail wagging the dog. There are numerous property owners, possibly hundreds of property owners, that will be impacted upon the alignment of this road. And we believe that the proper steps for the staff and the city to take is to conduct major studies of this traffic area. My client owns over 1,000 acres that is immediately adjacent or south of this property and has the opportunity to develop it potentially. But these streets that are intended to serve it are critical to the decision-making process. You heard Mr. Hernsberger talk about wanting access. There are property owners to the east and to the west that need to be conferred. We've asked the city staff to conduct meetings with these folks, and to my knowledge, no meeting has yet been convened. The deliberative aspect of what you all are required to do under the master street plan contemplates that if you approve a specific location of a proposed street, then you are to take into consideration the topography and the economics of that undertaking. In addition, you are to take into consideration specific site concerns and interests with the assuring that the goals of the plan are being achieved. Let me tell you what those goals are. They are that traffic and circulation of people and goods may be convenient, that safety from traffic hazards may be secured, that congestion of public streets may be lessened and avoided, that the process of development may be efficient and economical, and in the public safety, order, convenience, prosperity, and general welfare will be promoted. I don't know that you have been presented with any evidence, nor have you conducted any studies that indicate that you have achieved a deliberative process and understand that the realignment that's being proposed by this application is in the best interest and in compliance with this plan. I ask that you defer it and direct the city to conduct those studies. In addition, this applicant proposes that they would establish along the south boundary line of Phase 8 effectively a boundary street in violation of the city's ordinances, as I see it. Article 3, Division 2 Streets, Section 31201H provides that new boundary streets shall be avoided except where a requirement of the master street plan provides a defined alignment. Well, by virtue of the fact that they're moving the alignment that is presently shown in the corridor, there is no defined alignment. And until that's done, this boundary street is not authorized by your ordinance. If it is authorized by your ordinance, then the ordinance says that the developer is required to dedicate the right-of-way and build the improvements that are required under the master street plan. This is a minor arterial, and to my knowledge, the staff has made no effort to direct the developer to undertake either the development of the dedication of the right-of-way or the development and construction of the improvements. So I pray that you will defer this matter until such time as that matter is resolved. Then in addition, when the applicant brought this matter up previously as an adjoining property owner, I prayed with the applicant that they would give us a street extension to our property in 2 locations. The response was no. And yet your city ordinance in Section 31201E provides that proposed through streets shall be extended to the boundary lines of the tract to be subdivided unless the Planning Commission has determined that such an extension is not necessary or desirable or in the most advantageous future development of adjacent tracts. I don't know of any evidence that you've been presented by the applicant that indicates that you can qualify making that decision. The boundary street, the extension has to be done unless you determine that it's not advantageous to the adjacent property owner. And it seems bizarre to me that no evidence has been presented to you in that regard. I don't know how you can make a decision on either of these matters without it being construed as arbitrary and capricious. I ask you to defer or deny.
Thank you, Attorney Kemp. Okay, that concludes our oppositions here. I'm going to ask the applicant to come back up. And if so, if you'd like to address some of these issues that are on the table or to state your claim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. My name is Don Albert. I'm an attorney here in Little Rock. I represent the applicant. I'm going to reserve some of my time for Mr. Dale, who may want to address some of the other matters. If I understand correctly, this is all pretty much resolved with the exception of Mr. Kemp. Mr. Kemp is recognized as one of the deans of the real estate law bar in Arkansas, much less Pulaski County. He is the gentleman that is the best. But I don't believe that he is being totally forthright in this matter. Mr. Kemp does represent the folks that own some adjoining property, 1,000 acres, he says. That's true. But there's no application here from them for anything. They've owned that property for decades and done nothing with it. It sits and it's still sitting. So his argument, his protest, really doesn't sound like it's with the developer or with the plat of the subdivision. Instead, if I understand correctly, he's basically attacking the staff and saying the staff hasn't done this, the staff hasn't done that, the commission hasn't done this, etc. I don't know that that's correct. In fact, I don't believe that it is. The staff does its job on every occasion. I have never seen the staff not do what it was supposed to do. And it has fully vetted this plat, which is actually an extension of 6 other areas that have already been platted. This is number 7 and number 8. And what does Mr. Kemp ask? Mr. Kemp asks, I'm not real sure what, just that it be delayed. Because to him, that's success. He gets more time, more opportunity to do whatever it is that he ultimately wants to do, which he doesn't identify to you. He doesn't identify to you any specific objections that he has. He doesn't tell you, we have a plan that we've developed, and in order for that plan to work, we need X access. He presents no drawing, as we have done, of proposed lots and a plat. Instead, it's just, don't approve this. And that's just not the correct thing to do. The correct thing to do is to know that your staff, as they always do, have done their job. They've fully vetted this. They fully investigated it. They have no reservations about it. The point that was raised earlier about the tie-on fees, Mr. Carpenter's correct, that's on appeal, and absolutely if we're ordered to pay a tie-on fee, we're going to pay a tie-on fee. No question about it. To guarantee that in regards to what we've already built, we've posted $300,000 cash, letter from the bank, in furtherance of that. And that appeal probably will be decided shortly after the first of the year, and that'll all be over with. Then we have Mr. Hernsberger, who, as he says, really doesn't know whether he's for or he's against. He just wants to make sure that he's got access, and that's understandable, and we agree, and we'll do whatever the commission wants as far as providing him with information and so forth. But the last point, the point involving Mr. Kemp and his objections, does not merit attention and action by this group, because the staff has done everything that he's complained about. And the complaints are basically that the staff hasn't done something. There are no complaints specifically. He has not referred to the plat. He has not shown anything on the plat that he has an issue or a reservation about, or that in his opinion doesn't meet code. Obviously, if the city staff felt like that was a border street, they would be saying, we don't think this should be approved because there's a border street. Mr. Kemp has met with the city staff. I'm sure he's gone over all of these items. I would imagine, if not, it would be very surprising to me. And the city Planning Commission staff is still satisfied that this subdivision should go forward. So we would ask a favorable vote on this without question. And Mr. Dale may have some responses to any other matters or if there are questions.
Attorney Howard, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And Attorney Howard, before you leave, I just want to say this before you take your seat here. And I appreciate you making your statement. I think our staff did a fine job as they do on each and every item and in case that's brought before them each and every day and every month. Attorney Kemp did mention some things here that that may be concerns for the citizens on the traffic area issues. He stated about the different articles in Article 3, as well about the 2 street openings that were denied to them. Is that something that you can briefly speak on directly? Not from the staff point of view, but from the applicant, i.e. developer.
Yes, sir. Let me address the access, which would be to the right on that plat that's before you. I do not believe that there's any formal correspondence from Mr. Kemp with that request. I don't believe there is. I think there were some general discussions. Will you give us, without charge, 2 lots so that we can access into your subdivision? Well, the problem with that is, and when he says we denied him or refused him or whatever, that's not exactly true. What we said after consultation with staff was, that's not a good idea. You're going to take 1,000 acres worth of traffic and put them onto the interior streets that are on that subdivision, which is not good planning. So we said, no, we're not going to give you 2 lots that you can, without cost, make a street on. We'd be happy to work with Mr. Kemp and his client on some form of access of whatever he wants, but it's not a good idea, in the opinion of staff, to dump all that traffic from whatever Mr. Kemp ultimately develops into that subdivision, because that's what he would be doing. I mean, those are streets, that loop is designed and constructed to handle the traffic that is within that loop. Not traffic that's coming in from 1,000 acres of adjoining subdivisions, or however many acres of adjoining subdivisions that he plans. And again, that's, with respect, the challenge, and that is, we don't have any plan that he has. We don't know what he intends to do. He's never made a plan, never shown a plan, et cetera. So we don't understand what that would be for. If it's just 2 cuts into, take 2 lots and turn them over to him, that's not good planning, because he's going to use them to route traffic onto a neighborhood street, which is not good.
Thank you, Attorney Howard. Thank you.
Anything else, sir?
No, that'd be all.
Pardon?
No, that'd be all. Thank you,
sir.
I guess I'm going to, at this time, open it up to any chairperson to have any questions. Oh, excuse me. Mr. Dale. We have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes left for the applicant.
I think that there was 6 people that spoke. 3 of them are about the sewer improvement district. I think Attorney Carpenter has addressed that, as well as Don has. Bill Hernsberger has been with us. We visited with him about his access points. We have been in contact with him and will continue to be in contact with him to provide him access. The last one with Mr. Kemp, we have visited with him. We've also visited with the staff about maybe some adjustments that need to be made to the master street plan in the future. There was some dialogue that was going back and forth. That was why we deferred, or why we only got phase 6 approved last time, and why we deferred 7 and 8 until now, is so that we could have those meetings, so we could visit with people. They did ask for 2 access points into the subdivision. We felt like, and staff felt like, running a bunch more traffic through this single entrance neighborhood was not a good thing. They do have a large tract of land. It is approximately 1,000 acres. They have access to Capitol Hills Boulevard, Cooper Orbit Road, and I believe there's an arterial to the south. I think it's Colonel Glenn Road. So they have 3 large access points for their tract of land. We would like to collectively, the 3 of us, answer any questions that the commission or staff may have for us.
Thank you. And at this time, I'm going to open the floor up to any chairpersons that have any particular questions. Chairman Vogel, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a couple quick questions. Director Collins, since we have some new members here, can you remind us what our liability is on making certain decisions as a commission? What potential liability we could incur?
Well, you're appointed, and so as long as you would adhere to the bylaws that are adopted, the general administration procedure, and do not make decisions that are arbitrary or capricious, and that's the bar that we are held up against if somebody appeals decisions of the Planning Commission, then this body, the commissioners, when they are appealed, and that's what the lawsuit is, when something happens, it's appealed to court, then that is the bar that is held up against. So that is what I would say, that you need to look at it. That's why you have commissioners across several areas of the town, and even we can't have commissioners in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, because you are to hear the public, you are to hear the applicants, you are to hear staff, and draw your opinion based upon those and your knowledge. We have commissioners from all walks of life in here, and that is a good thing. That's why we have them. So your liability is only tied to how we act pursuant to our codes, whether we act arbitrary or in a capricious manner.
Okay.
If I could add to that, the codes would include the master street plan.
Sir?
The codes would include things like the master street plan, which is a legislative enactment by the city board. The failure to follow the master street plan is it going to be a per se finding of arbitrary and capricious? The issue I'm kind of sitting here for today, because I know you've seen me a lot of time at these meetings, is that it's been reported to me, and I think you should ask this question, that there has been a change in alignment from a street on the master street plan, and that change in alignment is shown up there actually has lots on what on the master street plan is shown to be a street. So if that's accurate, if that is accurate, then this commission's authority is only to make a recommendation to change it. And I'm not saying whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. I'll defer to the engineering and the planning director for that. But if there are lots on something that's currently on the master street plan, it's going to take an action of the board of directors to make that amendment. And so as you approve this, if you do, then simply let it be known that you would approve a change in the master street plan to this configuration.
I don't know if we know what the final master street plan is going to look like. We only have the current version.
Well, that's the version you've got, and that's the one that was passed by an ordinance, and that's the one that can only be amended by an ordinance.
So I guess going back to staff, my question is, can you explain to us what the master street plan change has been agreed upon here?
In staff's opinion, there has not been an amendment to the master street plan on an alignment. That alignment was a conceptual, general alignment. I want to read from the Boundary Street improvements or the Boundary Street ordinance, which is the enactment, the production, the construction, and ties back to the master street plan. An alignment means the designated or optimal engineered location for the center line of a street or a roadway consistent with proper grade and curvature criteria. Because this section of roadway has not been designed. It has not been engineered location. It is general in nature. It is, what we look for is consistency in width of the master street plan. Are they proposing to dedicate the right-of-way? Are they proposing, so any variances for us would be something less than what the master street plan was. The discussion of an alignment, it can be adjusted. It's adjusted now on existing streets that we have on the master street plan in the design stage of it. And so right now, that is a conceptual, it is not an engineered alignment that it locks anything into stone. It is exactly what it is, just conceptual. That's why it's shown as a dashed line on the master street plan. And as development occurs, then the location of that full alignment based upon other guidelines as far as AASHTO, site distance, roadway alignments, cuts, fills, stream crossings, and other regulations that the city has no authority over, then that decision based upon all those criteria are put into place before a permit is issued for the construction of any boundary street in connection with the master street plan.
And I don't disagree with that, but the major point is, the question is this a change from what's on the current master street plan? If the answer to that is yes, then the question for this commission is it a change we want to recommend? Because see, the ordinance says you shall follow the master street plan, and then it has an unless the planning commission recommends a change. And then if they do, you don't have the authority to change the master street plan. The board does, but that's what your ordinance would be, and then you'd have a master street plan amendment. I'm not going to give you all of them, but it's not new. It's happened before. The one I'm looking right now is 15730, which was back in 2000 and something. Engineering looked at it and they thought, I don't know if we should do this. A major landowner requested a shift of the street. They looked at it, they agreed, the planning commission agreed, and the board passed an ordinance amending the master street plan. So please understand, I don't care about the development. I care about the process. And the reason I do is I don't want to get down the line, you ask about liability, I don't want to get down the line and somebody says, hey, y'all have effectively amended the master street plan, nobody ever agreed to it, and then the city has liability. That's all. Just let the board do it. And you can send them at the same time.
I think the gentleman who represented the POA, I apologize for not having recalled his name perfectly, but I think the process and the procedures are critical when we're making decisions way out into the extraterritorial jurisdiction to make sure that we don't have people left out of their sewer, bond that they're liable for, that you don't have the neighboring owners have access, that developers don't have to do what every other developer has to do, which is, deed land over the city for roadways or make improvements to roadways. This could be another great area of our city, and it just doesn't seem like everybody's working together. So with that said, Chair, I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Commissioner, go ahead. Commissioner Scott, go ahead.
So I have concerns about the sewage tie-in issue, but I understand that's in the court. But I also have questions because I heard Mr. Hornsberger, I hope I'm saying that name correctly. He has issues and questions about access to his private land. And if I'm not mistaken, did I hear that the petitioner, y'all met with him?
My name is Scott Hurley, and I know.
What's your name?
Scott Hurley.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know Mr. Hernsberger. I've spoken with him for years, and I understand why he's here tonight. And for reasons that other people are trying to access the property that we've risked a lot of money and worked really hard to bring out to, we simply told him, Mr. Hernsberger, if we can just get our subdivision approved, then I'm happy to sit down and talk to you about access. But we have other people trying to force to get access into a neighborhood, and so I'd just like that time. So we've never tried to deny him, landlock him, but in visiting with him just recently, we will give him access, a 30-foot wide easement from our property for the use of one single-family home on each of his 3 tracts of land. And that's what he's asked for. He's, one of them is 5 acres, I think the other one's 10. We're not opposed to granting him those easements to access his property. But just to also note, this project is not hurting the access that he already has in place today. It's not taking anything away. But I know Mr. Hernsberger, and we're prepared to amend our application to do that. Yes, sir.
And this was to be a question because when we start amending applications, and this goes to what Chairman Vogel asked regarding new members, whenever the city looks at a substantial modification to an application, we always have to consider whether or not the public has had notice and whether the applicant is doing this willingly and without mental distress, trying to get the commission. We want to make sure the commission is not exerting pressure on the applicant to amend. And so if there's ever a substantial change to an application, and this sounds to me like, and this goes along with Commissioner Vogel, and where we're putting the streets and the access, if they're not currently on the preliminary plat, I think that the preliminary plat will be substantially changed, and that causes a concern for me, and the city attorney is here, and he can address that if I'm wrong, but I don't like substantially changing applications at the podium.
All right.
The city would prefer that we don't give that concession to amend the application. Then I can just visit with Mr. Hernsberger afterwards.
I'm not saying that. And in fact, I would think that to me, I would want to change the application and resubmit it. That's not my decision.
Part of our frustration on that is that we filed an application for this portion of land back on June 12th, and we came before you on August 10th, and we elected to say, let's just get Phase 6 approved, let's work with the city, talk to adjoining landowners, let's talk about this master street plan. So that was over 90 days ago. A drawing was submitted to adjoining landowners over 2 months ago with nobody saying a word. We've risked a lot of money. We worked really hard to bring a good quality neighborhood to the city of Little Rock, and what we have is a competitor and a developer trying to stall it even longer. We've already deferred once. We're not diminishing, lowering the width of that master street plan. We're not trying to get it off our property. We're just trying to build another good neighborhood. And it's just frustrating when you have a competitor that is trying to slow you down or stop you even more. So,
if I could follow up with that, I mean, the main goal of this preliminary plat is to get the advanced grading permit, correct? You're not going to go out and develop this immediately. You're going to get the advanced grading permit, correct? So you don't have to move as much fill from the hill to the valley?
That's basically correct, yeah. Mr. Chairman.
I'm not the chair.
Okay. Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Vogel.
My dad.
May I address something that Mr. Carpenter said? And I'm sure Mr. Carpenter will correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Mr. Carpenter's saying that you can approve this and do it, but that to the extent that it revises the city street plan, if in fact it does, and I'm not sure that it does, in fact, it appears to be based on what the director's saying that it doesn't, but that it then becomes your recommendation to the board. And that has to be done for it to even be considered by the board. I mean, if there's no recommendation, there's no consideration. So I don't think that Mr. Carpenter's saying you can't do this, it's wrong, it's illegal. I think Mr. Carpenter's saying that if it's done subject to ultimate approval by the board. Is that correct, sir?
I mean, the answer to that is yes. The hesitance I've got is I've seen multiple occasions where the development comes and an ordinance to change the master street plan comes separately, but at the same time. And so, you know, I mean, I didn't stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, and I'm not an engineer, but what I have been shown shows things on what are now part of the master street plan. If y'all think this is a good thing, fine, go forward with it. Just the master street plan part has to be done by the board, and then what y'all would be saying is, we recommend this because of all the reasons that have been put forth by the applicant. I just want the ordinance from the board to amend the master street plan portion of it, because that's how it's done.
With the understanding, if I'm interpreting correctly, that staff, the director, is saying that in fact, it's not an amendment because the original of what's there now is dashed and is conceptual.
Yeah, I don't agree with them that it's just conceptual and we can just willy-nilly change it. I think when a board passes an ordinance, they can change it by amending the ordinance, which is what they've done before, which is what they did in the ordinance I mentioned a minute ago. But that said, I'm not saying he's wrong that this is not a significant change, and if it's recommended by the Planning Commission, there's any reason not to do it. I'm just saying, if in fact what I have been shown is accurate, and there are lots now on a street that's now on the master street plan, and we have to rearrange them, then just get the ordinance with the master street plan change amendment going at the same time so the board can make that change, and I don't have to answer to some property owner 30 years from now. Well, I'll be dead then, but you know.
I understand, and we're agreeable to that.
Yeah.
But the one party, I think you would agree, Mr. Carpenter, the one party that should not suffer because there's disagreement between director, city attorney, staff, whatever, on whether it's major, we shouldn't have to suffer. I mean, that's nothing that we've caused or brought about.
That's why I said earlier, I don't care what the commission does. I'm not being flippant. The commission has an expertise that I don't have. Jamie has an expertise I will never have. And my expertise is ordinances and how they get amended and what happens if they're amended. And the question by Mr. Vogel about liability, that's what jumps out to me. You know, I mean, the greatest takings case we know out of California, Nolan, dealt with somebody that sort of talked somebody into making a change on a building permit, and then he decided not to do it, so they tried to stop his thing, and the U.S. Supreme Court said, I'm sorry, he's already built it, and oh, by the way, you never had the right to do that in the first place. I don't want to face that in the future. That's all I'm saying.
Well, they say,
Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Latour. First off, it seems like the proponents have had a preponderance of time in this discussion. I'm not opposed to the project, but I'm not going to vote for it because I'm not necessarily going to vote against it, depending on how the motion is. But it seems to me there's a whole bunch of tentacles that haven't been tied up into this thing. I would vote in a heartbeat for a deferral, and I know that's not what the applicant wants. But I'd rather vote for that than to deny the project. But there's a whole lot of loose ends in this deal. And listening to attorneys try to explain the difference to them tells me that there's still a lot of loose ends. So for what it's worth, that's where I'll fall.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think we have another question from Commissioner Scott. Go ahead.
Could the other side have a moment?
Sure.
I
mean, time had been
just a
exhausted.
minute, just be a comment, real quick comment.
Go ahead, very briefly, go ahead.
From our POA, and I'm speaking also for our sewer improvement district 237, this developer comes up and wants to present himself as a good neighbor, somebody's going to work with all the neighborhoods, do everything. But in our situation, they negotiated with our sewer improvement district in good faith what we thought for a long period of time. The question was how much they were going to pay per house to tie on. Then suddenly, after months of negotiation, Everything went quiet, and the next thing I know, they got the wastewater utility to allow them to hook into our sewer district. Our experience has not been a good experience, that this developer is a good neighbor and is going to work and do what they say they will do. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you very much. And Scott, did you have a question? Did you have a question?
I just want to know if Mr. Hornsberger is satisfied with the response that he had with the gentleman.
Yes, sir, I just got to go on record, because a lot of parties.
You want to speak at the podium, please, sir?
I've known the engineers and the developer for some time, and I think they'll work with me. I just want to go on record because not only are they involved and I'm involved, but there's going to be a POA someday involved, the city's involved, and I just want to be sure that as time goes forward, there's a clear understanding of what I'm asking for as access is, so that 5 years down the road, somebody else doesn't read what we've done and said, oh, wait, you can't do that. I just want to clarify that. I felt like this was my time. I'm not really objecting to the plat or anything. I just felt like this was my time to voice my concern. I have confidence in the engineers to work that out with me, but I felt like I needed to come today and get on record.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, I guess we heard from all parties. Here, Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
First, I need to echo Commissioner Latour's concerns about the number of loose ends with this. I agree it's probably easier if this was a deferral vote, but the applicant doesn't want to do that. I do have a question for the attorneys. You mentioned that there is an appeal in place relative to this property. Are there any possible outcomes of that we need to consider with this? Like, could the outcome of the appeal impact this down the road?
The appeal that's in place is about the responsibility to pay tie-on fees to the improvement district for the sewer services. There has been a judgment entered. That judgment is on appeal.
Okay.
If the judgment says, yes, they pay the tie-on fees, then they will pay the tie-on fees. And what was stated at the beginning of this meeting today is that applied to the earlier phases that were approved, it will apply to these phases also. That was just a clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners?
Yes, Commissioner Baker, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Haynes, go ahead.
Yes, I think if we listen to a attorney, they're going to be fighting all day long. We get a taste of that on Capitol Hill. I do trust the developer and the engineering firm representing, so I will be for this project. I just want to make those changes.
Thank you. With that being said, would Commissioner like to make a motion?
Yes, I move to approve item 1S1844F with all staff comments and recommendations.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for item 1S-1844-F, and roll call, please.
Samad?
I'd like to abstain. I wasn't here for the first part.
Brown?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Latour?
No.
McDonald?
No.
Person?
Yes.
Thomas?
Abstain.
Vogel?
No.
Vickers?
No.
Hart? It's 3 yes, 4 no, 2 abstain. Motion fails.
All right, now, we're going to the next item here, and the next item we have is item C. So please reading of the item number C, please.
Mr. Chair, this item and the next item, item D, they are STR2s, and I'll read the following statement, which will apply to both of them. Currently, the City of Little Rock Department of Planning and Development has 30 short-term rentals, STR1 and STR2, listed within the database for approved of short-term rentals in the City of Little Rock. The city's new short-term rental ordinance allows a maximum of 500 short-term rentals within the corporate boundary of the City of Little Rock. Item C, Z9827, Mindful Properties 2, STR2, PD-C 5131, Cantrell Road. The applicant proposes to rezone 0.6 acre property located at 5131 Cantrell Road from R2 to PD-C to allow the property as a short-term rental with a maximum stay of 29 days. The owner will not reside at the residence. The entire structure will be rented as one unit. The property contains an existing brick structure. Access is provided from the concrete stairway and a small front porch which extends from Cantrell Road that allows entrance to the unit. The unit has one parking spot in front of the property and one in the rear. The property is primarily surrounded by R3 zoning. The future land use map shows a large area of residential low density in all directions. On June 20th, 2023, the City Board of Directors passed an ordinance regulating short-term rentals within the City of Little Rock. The new ordinance established development standards for short-term rentals. If approved, the applicant must comply with the newly established development standards in addition to all other requirements of the new ordinance. Since this item was deferred at our last meeting, since that time staff has received numerous calls and emails in opposition. At this time, staff recommends denial.
Thank you. All right, at this time, is the applicant present?
Mr. Chair,
Please state your name for the record.
my name is Marcus Arnold.
My name is Michelle Arnold.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission and staff, just introduce ourselves real quick and then we'll let opposition speak. Our business, Mindful Properties, was born out of a tragic situation that led us to want to do more meaningful work in our lives. We both love being outdoors, gardening, beekeeping, hiking, and creating a peaceful place for our family to spend time together and bond. This is what helped us get through this situation. This is also the reason we chose to name Mindful Properties for our business. We wanted to do the same thing for other people who are going through a variety of different situations in their lives. Welcoming people to our home and into this neighborhood has allowed us to do that. We love being able to welcome people from different parts of the United States so much so that we are also in the process of remodeling a home 2 doors down from our primary residence that will also be a furnished short-term rental. We are not wealthy people. We both hold full-time jobs. We poured our whole life savings into this property. We actually have not profited off of this rental as we are still paying back our savings, down payment, higher-end furnishing, maintenance, cleaning, and ongoing improvements to the property, as well as the cost to get everything needed for the rezoning per the city guidelines, property surveys, neighborhood surveys, mailing certified letters, and inspections. We also renovated the home in a way that preserved the historic architecture. This wasn't the cheapest way to do it, but it was important to us to showcase Little Rock's architecture, finishes during the 1920s. This is something we wanted people from out of state or even out of the country to be able to experience. Once we start profiting, we will have ongoing plans to continue to improve the home. We are both very involved in this property, often cleaning after each stay, as well as ensuring the property is in good condition to provide the best experience possible for our next guests. This means we are at the property on a weekly basis, often multiple times a week. As a result of this, we have learned to love and appreciate the neighborhood as well as the community culture, and we truly want to be good stewards of the community. We take a lot of pride in our business and we put a lot of time and energy into our property, curating, maintaining, and hosting. We carefully select and have close relationships with people we have involved in our property. We use local small businesses for our soap, shampoos, lawn care, and cleaners. Our goal is to continue to update and improve this home so it will continue to showcase Little Rock and the Heights history for many years to come. We are not perfect, but we are willing to learn and change as we as we go, and we do try to do the very best we can, motivated by our values, convictions, and intentions. With that being said, our business does not benefit at all from allowing parties or any issues with parking or accessing the property. Guest experience is what keeps our business going and successful, as reviews are a major part of why people choose to stay at our property. To create a good experience, we must be communicative and set expectations up front. This is not to say we are perfect, but we are refining and perfecting our process to provide the best experience possible. This creates a more seamless experience for our guests and neighbors, resulting in good reviews and allows us to be good stewards of the community and neighborhood. I will expand on this, but guests who select our property for their stay are wanting a quiet, safe neighborhood where they can experience and explore the city of Little Rock and what Little Rock has to offer. Currently, we have achieved Superhost status on Airbnb and Premier Host status on VRBO. This property is also listed as a guest favorite, meaning that it is one of the most loved homes on Airbnb based on ratings, reviews, and reliability. We work extremely hard to ensure our property is high-end, luxurious, and offers an elevated stay. Thank you all for allowing this opportunity to share who we are and why we have so much passion in what we do. We would like to reserve the rest of our time.
Thank you. All right, we do have a few that oppose, and we actually have one in support. So we would do the opposition first, and the first one we have is Tom Crawford.
My name's Tom Colford. I live on P Street, which is just opposite the alley. The property faces Cantrell. My house faces P Street, which is just across the alley. I called the city permit division to see about if there had been a permit taken out, because there had been quite a bit of extensive remodeling done, as he just alluded to. The permit desk said that there was only one permit taken out, and that was to do some electrical work to put in some recessed cans. I don't think that that's a good start. If, in fact, that's what happened, makes you wonder if we should, why should we believe that they will continue to follow rules and regulations that the city has in effect to regulate a short-term rental. If they start out their project ignoring these kinds of regulations, why are they going to do anything differently? Let's not start a breakdown of the fabric of what is a long-standing, stable residential neighborhood by allowing a short-term rental to gradually infiltrate and erode the stability of the neighborhood. It's a long-standing, stable, residential neighborhood, and we'd like to see it continue as that. I'd like to see y'all deny this request. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, our next card we have is Nancy McDonald. Would you like to come up or defer your time?
Thank you. My name is Nancy McDonald. I live at 5121 R Street, and my home is directly, if you walk out my back door and across Cantrell, the house in question is right across the street. So I'm within probably 200 feet of the house itself. As the gentleman even admitted, it's a very stable neighborhood. The history of the Heights, anybody who's from Little Rock, as I am, I'm a lifelong resident. I went to Little Rock Central High School. I have been a part of this community my entire life. And the stability and the neighborhood that we have in the Heights is very nice for neighbors. It's a safe, relatively safe place to live. And this temporary or transient trend that is starting, nobody's opposed to hotels if they want to open those, but right in the middle of the neighborhood, we're seeing degradation of crime and of property values and of trash, et cetera. As the gentleman said, we've had a number of people who have written to ask you to decline this. We've had a number of people call you to do that. Even on the history of the Heights, a gentleman asked me to reinforce this, and he had sent you a letter as well. Since June, this property, I think, has probably been operating as an Airbnb anyway, without approval. And there has been numerous advertisement of this property of temporary stay or temporary guest. Since June, there's been, he talks about he's missed doctor's appointments. His lawn service has not been able to do the yard work. The fence has been hit. The house has been hit. So the list goes on, and it was advertised as a rather large overnight venue. At least at one point in time, just this last Friday, a group of at least 14 people and 9 cars stayed there, blocking his driveway, and he lives at 5135 Cantrell, just next door. And the property cannot realistically support 4 or 5 cars. So it's been being advertised as a large venue on a website. Now, I have noticed since then it's been put up on Zillow, maybe for longer-term rental, but it has been certainly incorporated on websites. I ask that on behalf of our neighborhood, and we've got several people here who are lifelong residents. I myself have lived in my home since 2005. I've remodeled it and renovated it and stayed true to the Heights. I didn't build a McMansion. I didn't do that. I enlarged my home and enlarged my house itself just to improve property values. I love the Heights. I love Little Rock, and I ask that you decline this.
Thank you. Next card we have is John Bassett.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. I appreciate this time. My name is John Bassett. I reside at 5128 P Street, which is directly behind the property in question. As has been mentioned, there are numerous area residents present tonight. I believe there are at least 10 people, and I have who are in opposition to this proposal, and I have a petition that has been signed by 28 area residents and property owners in opposition. As I mentioned, I live directly behind this property, and I can attest that this past weekend has been stated there were 4 vehicles parked behind the property, parking and obstructing the only vehicular access, which is by an unnamed alley that runs directly behind this property. And also there was overflow parking on to the perpendicular street, Newton Street. Neither the alley nor Newton are wide enough to accommodate two-way traffic, let alone to be navigable easily if there is somebody parked there blocking them. The infrastructure simply cannot accommodate the type of volume that is being proposed if the short-term rental rezoning is permitted. Also, I can also state that there has been an increase in golf balls and Nerf toys that have shown up in my backyard since this has been used as a short-term rental. And fortunately I'm a golfer, so I'm able to reuse some of them, but that has just been a side effect that was unexpected during this process. So I would respectfully request that you do deny this rezoning petition strictly because the infrastructure, the area in question cannot accommodate the type of use that is now being proposed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we have a card in support of the action item here is Courtney Carter.
That's correct. Hi, I am Courtney Carter. I am the actual direct neighbor of Michelle and Marcus's property. I've lived in this property for 5 years. I'm not a lifer. I'm also not the owner. I'm sure there's some glares at me for that one, but I have seen nothing but them be thoughtful, kind, have come over, have asked, have stated what they were doing.
Could you please speak inside the microphone, please? Thank you.
There you go.
There.
Yes, thank you.
I don't like my voice. Okay. They've been nothing but thoughtful. They've been nothing but kind. When they were redoing the property, their children came over and played with my children. I've seen a lot of these people. I've probably only met these neighbors that are so neighborly. Like none of them, like when I've recognized them, because I'm out in the property, I run, I bike, I love the area. My daughters went to Forest Park. My daughter goes to Pulaski Heights Middle. She's very vibrant. She's autistic on the spectrum. So we love that community because I feel safe there with her. That property next door, I totally feel safe. No one has said a problem that can't be solutioned. No one is in harm's way. Having someone not follow the rules that they laid out very clearly in their rules with Airbnb, they can't help that someone made the mistake and they were there quick to fix that mistake. So those cars didn't stay there. They did not stay overnight, 14 cars. A lot of this is exaggeration and lies. So I really hate that for these small business owners. A family, growing family, just trying to make it in the world. I work at the University of Arkansas. I work in IT. I make okay money for working at the University of Arkansas, but I'm thinking of where I can go make side money right now. So life is hard. Quit making it harder for people, okay? Be kind and neighborly.
Thank you. All right. And so now, I'm sorry, do you have a card?
No, I didn't. I came too late.
I'm so sorry about this. Just to respect the citizens' time, the staff, and the board, if you do not have a card, and I sincerely apologize, if you don't have a card, we can't allow you to speak, all right? I'm so sorry, sir. Sir, just to be respectful at this time, you can't, after the meeting, if you want to talk to someone, we can address, or if you want to come to the next meeting or write a letter. Thank you. And the applicant, if the applicants please can come up here, please. Excuse me, the applicant, can you please come back up? You do have approximately 10 minutes left, if you so choose to.
So that I don't squirrel away, I wrote out a response. If it's okay, I'm just going to read off my response, and I think it will address most of the things that come up. And if you have any questions, you guys can ask when I'm finished reading.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So we understand there are very strong opinions and emotions in regard to this. We truly do care about each person in this room as a human being. We want to address each concern as best we can. There are room for all of us to have different opinions and find common ground and compromise. With that being said, if it's okay, I'd like to read my response, and we feel that it will address your concerns. Some of these we have recently implemented as we learn the different nuances of the area, and we improve and grow. So for contact, if for some reason there is a disturbance, be it parking or noise, you can absolutely contact us directly. We would like the chance to be good neighbors and address it. Our phone numbers were provided in our letters, and we are more than happy to address anything that may come up with urgency, similar to how you would address a permanent neighbor or a neighbor renting long-term. Parking. So guests must now agree to our house neighborhood rules prior to booking. This includes noise levels, quiet hours, check-in times, access to the property, driveway, and slowly accessing the alleyway, the number of cars allowed, etc. This information is verified prior to approval, and if the guest goes against the rules that they agree to, they are given the opportunity to remedy it, and if they do not remedy it, it's reported to the platform and they're asked to leave. Again, similar to what you would do with a long-term rental or a regular neighbor, if you have concerns, we simply ask that you give us a call so that we can address it for you. We have copies of our house rules, parking instructions, as well as directions to the property if anybody would like to review. Alleyway concerns. From our understanding, the alleyway is a public road. It is not private property. There are different drivers that access this road all the time, be it someone's landscaper, cleaner, family member, plumber, friend, someone who is lost and took a wrong turn, etc. There are other rentals in this neighborhood. People have guests. People are going to access the alleyway whether our furnished rental is there or not. The difference is we're going to give very thorough instructions on how to access the property. We want this to be 100% safe for our guests as well as for the neighborhood. As stated above, guest experience is everything, and if we do not set proper expectations, this could affect our ratings. If there are concerns about the alleyway as a whole, that is not something that should be taken out on our property and livelihood. That is something that should be addressed with the city to make it safer for the whole community and our guests included. We are more than willing to do our part to ensure guests and neighborhood safety. In light of learning more about the neighborhood and our processes, we have opted to create a Google business account that will allow us to provide a Google Maps placement. This enables guests to search and download directions to our property for use with or without mobile data. My directions message has the Google Maps pin or link to the directions, and I tell guests that the directions will get them exactly to the property. It also has interactive instructions at each turn, letting them know landmarks as well as when to drive extremely slow and with care. The guests will have this link to view on their mobile device as well as a PDF version that they can print out. Again, a guest has to agree with all of this before we accept the booking now. Going back to what we stated about people utilizing this alleyway as a means for accessing the homes in this area, this is likely going above and beyond what someone else living in the neighborhood would provide a guest when accessing the alleyway. I would also like to note that there are other furnished short-term and mid-term rentals in the Heights neighborhood that utilize alleyway access that existed long before the rezoning process had taken place. Before now, a lot of people didn't even know that they were in the neighborhood, especially if the property had a good owner or host. So I'm curious, did the city receive any calls or complaints for our property or any other property prior to the rezoning letters and information being sent out? I know I did not receive any. With all of that being said, if there is still a concern with the alleyway utilization, we can make the front door the main guest access and extend our parking in the front. We can also adjust the number of guests that are allowed for each booking. We can change the nightly minimum. Again, we are constantly refining and working to make our property better. Nothing is set in stone and there are always options. I know when opinions are strong, it is hard to compromise in the world we live in today, but there is room for all of us to compromise, and I hope that as decent people and neighbors we can do this. As far as parties and preservation of the Heights, we have a strict no-party policy that a guest must agree to prior to booking. As added protection, we are implementing noise detectors inside the house and exterior cameras, as long as the neighbors are okay with it, at our property to be able to monitor in real time. If there are parking and or party issues, the guests will be asked to resolve or they must leave the property. Our phone number was sent out to all the neighbors on the meeting notice, and we welcome anyone to give us a call if there are any concerns that come up so we can handle it for you immediately. This is exactly what you would do if it were a long-term rental or a permanent resident. Occupancy, accommodations for up to 12 guests depending on the reservation. This is what is listed on Airbnb. Must meet the vehicle limit, must agree to all other house rules before the booking was accepted. Most of our bookings are for 6 to 8 people. However, we are prepared to ensure if there are more guests that it meets our requirements for parking, noise level, and etc. Safety. Guests who book on the platform are background checked, have to provide a valid driver's license before they can book. They also have to state their reason for booking as well as agree to the house rules and neighborhood rules before the request is accepted. In addition to this, guests are reviewed by other hosts. If a guest has a negative review for partying or not respecting the property or neighborhood, their booking is not accepted. The majority of guests do not want to risk getting a bad review, so this only further incentivizes following house rules. Background checks are performed for guests 10 days before the check-in date of their reservation or later in the case of bookings within 10 days of check-in. And with hosts, their background check when the host logs in after creating a listing. With all this being said, I'd like to quickly walk through reasons people are coming to Little Rock and choosing to stay at our place. If needed, we can provide proof for this. To be near a family member nearing end of life and entering hospice care. Choral music educators attending a music conference, to be near their grandfather in the hospital, in town working for Central Arkansas Water, 5 people on the reservation who booked because the house is centrally located between 2 plants they work at, traveling from out of state to play in a nationally ranked adult softball tournament, coming into town for a funeral, and because she grew up in the very same neighborhood, the Heights, and her sister still lives in the Heights, wanted to stay at our property for a safe, peaceful place to stay. Coming to town because a friend of the renter is an oral surgeon very close to the area. Her disabled brother needs extensive dental work, and the surgeon suggested they stay in our area because it's close to the office. Members of the Country Club of Little Rock coming into town for a golf tournament, maybe that's where those golf balls came from, specifically looking for an upscale place in the Heights to stay, wife's grandmother's funeral, a group of longtime friends coming into town for a friend's funeral, corporate meeting, family member wedding, waterfowl convention, wedding for a brother-in-law, senior principal partner with Montrose Environmental staying while attending training at their Little Rock corporate office, parents visiting their daughter who lives in the neighborhood for Thanksgiving, visiting family who lives in the neighborhood for Thanksgiving, grandson's wedding, husband, wife, and 3 kids coming into town for a corporate meeting, did not want to be away from their kids and wanted a safe, peaceful place to stay that is safe for their kids. Coming into town to spend Christmas with family who live nearby. Family coming to visit their sister who live in the neighborhood. Spending Christmas with family who live nearby, wanted a place near them and near hiking. Ministry called traveling team, bringing their team leaders in for a retreat. Booked our place a few weeks ago and they loved it so much and they love the area so much they wanted to book again in December. As mentioned in our intro, because our guests love this property and our hospitality so much, we have achieved Superhost status on Airbnb and Premier Host status on VRBO. This property is also listed as a guest favorite, meaning it is one of the most loved homes on Airbnb based on ratings, reviews, and reliability. I wanted to reiterate this so that everyone understands this is not a property we just threw together to make a quick buck. This is our passion and we have put so much into it. I would also like to mention that there are likely people in this room, even some that are opposed to having a furnished rental in their neighborhood, that have used Airbnb, VRBO, or another short-term rental platform for their personal travel. And it's no surprise why. Short-term rentals can provide an opportunity for travelers to immerse themselves in local culture and for hosts and neighbors to share their culture with guests. This can foster a sense of community and understanding between different people, as well as the choice to stay in an area that mirrors your own culture and style. So I have to ask the question, is it okay for you to stay in someone else's neighborhood, but not for someone else to stay in your neighborhood? We have wonderful guests who just want a peaceful place to stay, and as proven above, they typically know somebody who lives nearby or are staying for a funeral or other personal event, not for parties or anything negative. If a situation does arise, we just ask you to reach out to us so we can address it for you. Our guests are more than happy to do what is right. If you hate the idea of short-term rentals but have a host who is truly wanting to do their best, I hope you'll reconsider. Our guests and the guests of hosts I know are respectful travelers who are here to be with their family, learn about Little Rock, and in our case, experience the historic architecture of Little Rock in our historic home, as well as experience our hospitality. My guests enthusiastically support local businesses, often reaching out and asking which restaurants they should go that are nearby. The income from their bookings helps us keep this wonderful old home we couldn't otherwise afford. Really, owning a large historic home takes the kind of resources a new home does not. They want instructions on how to respect the neighborhood and home, and then after their stay, they go home and talk about how amazing and surprised they were by their experience in Little Rock. In addition to this, our property can boost the local economy by bringing in dollars that support local businesses such as restaurants, shops, and activity providers. They also create jobs for cleaning crews, property managers, and other service providers in the area. As mentioned above, if you're fortunate, you yourself are a vacationer, business traveler, or traveling for a family event from time to time, a stranger in another place. Maybe you've even booked a vacation rental at a beach somewhere, and in the midst of having so much fun, were laughing loudly once you came back to your temporary home. Or maybe in the midst of dealing with stress and emotions from a difficult funeral or hospital stay, you parked in the wrong spot. Is that reason for someone to despise their neighbor? Whether short-term, long-term, or mid-term, we are all human beings looking for connection, especially during travel or life events. We are simply asking you to give us a call as your neighbor, and we will take care of anything that may come up with urgency. Anyway, whether it's called Airbnb, furnished rental, residential rental, or something else, whatever regulations come and go, short-term rentals are likely not going anywhere. They are a necessary option for the world we live in today, and if managed correctly, can have huge benefits for the neighborhood and for the city. There are other STRs in this very same area that may not be a part of the rezoning process yet. We are just trying to abide by the city's new regulations with urgency and per their guidelines. It must be rezoned. So better to have a good host who cares about their property and community, who wants to abide by the city's requirements and is willing to refine, learn, and grow and perfect their listing to set the tone for other short-term rentals in the area, as well as the outlook and experience of the city of Little Rock. The mayor states that the city's mission is to ensure safe, secure, and a prospering space to live, work, and play, and we fully commit to being a part of that mission and offering a unique, luxurious, and thoughtful stay in the heart of Little Rock. I also have links that I've provided to our Google Earth parking instructions, as well as a link to our guidebook for our property so that you can get a visual of the time and effort we have put into our place to make it a truly elevated stay. If we have time, I would love for each commissioner to review these links before a decision is made, if you feel like it will give you a better understanding of the type of property we have, as well as the expectations we set. Thank you so much for your time and consideration to allow us to continue to do what we love. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to open the floor for any commissioners to have any particular questions for the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, I've got two simple questions. One of the nice lady that just spoke. You've had a whole bunch of people staying there without getting the permit. Is that right?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You listed off a whole list of groups that have been staying with you without a permit. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started this before the ordinance is passed, and from our understanding, the ordinance doesn't take place until January 1st. So we bought the property before we even knew this was even going to go into effect.
My second question is, you're not going to live in it. Where will you be living?
We live in Conway.
We live about 24 minutes.
Do you have a property manager?
I'm the property manager. We're at the property multiple times a week. We clean it, host it. We also, as he stated in our intro, we're in the process of opening a short-term rental next to our personal property as well. So we manage it ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners with any particular questions?
I just had a question. You had mentioned that the property was on Airbnb and VRBO.
Yes, ma'am.
I've looked and I cannot find it anywhere to try to just read the reviews and stuff like that. Was it taken down or is it still?
It should be still up. If there's somebody I can send a direct link to, I can send it. If you look on Airbnb, I think it's listed as Wisteria Place.
Okay, I do see Wisteria Place. Okay. All righty, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions for commissioners? If not, is there a motion?
Yes. Just for all the new members on the commission, we're going to make this motion the affirmative. So we're going to make the motion to approve the item Z9827 Wall staff's comments and recommendation, except for that of denial. Second.
Second. All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. And then we can have a roll call, please. But before we do that, for the new member, should we have, Sean, we have our esteemed attorney can identify for our new commissioner voting in the affirmative?
Sure. All of our motions have to be in the affirmative. So if the staff denies something, then the motion that you may be making in the future, if there's a recommendation of a denial, you still make an affirmative motion, and then you add the additional sentence, but for denial. So anytime you're voting on something, it's a positive vote. If that makes sense.
Yes makes yes, no means no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Samad?
No.
Brown?
No.
Haynes?
Haynes is not here anymore. He had to leave quickly.
Okay. Thank you. Latour,
No.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes, I support this application.
I'm sorry, could you
repeat that, please?
Say yes, I'm in support of the application.
Thank you. Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. It's 4-3, motion fails.
4-3
I
motion
just-
fails?
4-3, motion passes, sorry.
4-3 motion passes. Thank you.
I just wanted to say the pictures look very nice online. And I think you all did a great job.
How does it pass?
Thank you for that.
We need to make clarification before this item is closed. You have to get 6 affirmative votes to pass an item. We did not get to 6. There was 4 yeses, so even though there was more yeses than noes, since you did not reach the 6, the item does not pass.
Given that we are down 2 commissioners from when we started, does this vote even count? We don't have enough to do a vote right now.
You know, and that's a good point, because we had 2 commissioners that dropped off, and we didn't really.
Could they defer and come back next month?
Yeah, and so if I'm going to, Chair, I don't know if you want to share this with them, but since we didn't have the majority, we're down. And Chairman Vickers, I don't know if you want to explain it to them or.
Yes, I will explain to them. So we had 2 commissioners that had to leave on personal, whatever their personal reasons were. And so we're down to only 7. It takes 6 affirmative votes or a yes vote for it to officially, legally pass. Since we do not have, you don't have 6 votes, you only have 4. It passed, but it didn't pass with the policies and the records, so.
And then Chairman Vickers, to do this, under the Robert's Rules of Order, we would need to do a motion to expunge the previous vote based upon the fact we had 2 commissioners drop off and we didn't give them that option to do that. So I recommend that we do a motion to expunge the previous vote.
All right, thank you.
Then we hear the application.
Would any commissioner like to make a motion to expunge?
Make a motion to expunge the previous vote.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call on that?
Samad,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Haynes, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Okay, that motion passes.
All right, so now that we have, I guess we're retracting and going back, and now we can give the applicant the option.
Opportunity
the
to defer.
to defer to next scheduled meeting?
That's correct.
All right, okay, applicant, if you so choose to defer into the next available meeting, which is next month, to come back and we would actually vote on it again, or come back and do the presentation or present again, is that correct?
That is correct. It would be heard at the next Planning Commission meeting, and this deferral would be at their cost.
Okay. So applicant, would you like to defer at your cost to come back next month?
Yes, sir.
We
we'll
get an
defer.
official voting on this when we have our full commissions here, that you can get at least 6 affirmative votes or yes votes?
Yes, I will defer.
Okay, thank you. So do we need to make a motion for that they will defer, or it just goes in the record that they will come back for the next month?
At this time, since we already read it and heard it, it needs to be a motion.
All right. And do we have a motion?
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So how many I just want to make sure that they understand do you get 2 deferrals? And if we have this problem to where we don't have enough people, what does that look like for them?
The applicant can request 2 deferrals. That has to be heard at the 3rd. The only way that it can be deferred at that is the commission can defer it at their own. Staff can defer it based upon they didn't meet a criteria that is needed to be heard, as in notifications. Or if the commission is below 6 in number, because then you would not have a quorum, then everything is deferred. You cannot have the meeting. So those are the items. So for this one, since this is a deferral at the request of the applicant, since we had less than 8, that counts. When I say cost, it counts against their 2 allowed deferrals.
Okay.
So move to approve the applicant's deferral until next Planning Commission meeting in December.
A second. So we have a motion and a second on that. And we can get a roll call for that, please.
Samad,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Haynes, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
And then Chairman Vickers, you need to make the announcement for all the applicants.
I will do that going forward. As a matter of fact, let me just make a full blanket for our last action items that we have or that we have left. We have, as it stands, 7 commissioners here for voting. You need 6 votes for your item for approval that you're looking for. So at this time, if you would like to defer until next month, you can. So when we call your number and your action item, you can come up, and if you like to defer at that particular time, you can. Is that okay? Or can we have them to come up?
They would need to come up and request that at each item.
At each
and
item.
We would need to do that before we read the item.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, also a couple of items that are still left on our regular agenda, items A and A1 have been deferred twice. They cannot be deferred again.
Thank you. All right. All right, so let's carry on here. And we will give just a moment for any of our citizens to depart for just a few seconds. All right. All right, the next item is item number D.
Do we have 6 commissioners now? Mr. Brown just stepped out the door.
Yes, he did.
Restroom.
Oh, he just went to the restroom. Yes. Yes.
Just filling up his water bottle.
Yes. All right, so Brad, could you please do the reading for item number D, please? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Applicant for item number D, could you please come up, and would you like to defer or would you like to move forward with the hearing?
I would like to move forward, please, because it was deferred last month. So I'm going to do my odds and hope nobody else drops off between now and then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brad, go ahead, please.
Item D, Z9837, Bowl STR2, PD-C, 2008 North Harrison Street. The applicant proposes to rezone 0.16 acre property located at 2008 North Harrison Street from R2 to PD-C to allow the use of the property as a short-term rental with a maximum stay of 29 days. The owner will not reside at the residence. The entire structure will be rented as one unit. The property contains an existing brick structure. The unit has a driveway that can accommodate 3 cars. The property is in the Heights Landscape Overlay District. The property is surrounded by R2. The future land use map shows a large area of residential low density. On June 20th, 2023, the City Board of Directors passed an ordinance regulating short-term rentals within the City of Little Rock. The new ordinance establishes development standards for short-term rentals If approved, the applicant must comply with the newly established development standards in addition to all other requirements of the new ordinance. Staff is in support of the requested PD-C rezoning. Staff believes the request is reasonable and that the proposed STR2 use is appropriate for this location. Staff recommends approval of the PD-C zoning request subject to the compliance with all the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present, obviously? Would you like to come up? And before you come up here, please state your name.
My name is Jody Bowl.
Okay, all right, madam. Would you like to present now, or would you like to defer your time for the oppositions and then come back up?
I'm going to concede my time, and I'll be back.
Thank you. All right. So we do have a few cards here in opposition. The first one up is we have Janice Alman, if I'm saying that correctly. Somebody have a presentation? Okay. And who is that person? Okay, yes. Ms. Bailey, please come on up here. So, madam, are you deferring your time for the presentation? Okay, all right. Is everybody on the opposition deferring their time? Lisa Perk? Yes, I'll defer. You're first. And we have Jim Pfeiffer? I'm not sure. All right. Come on, Jim. Thank you. Okay. Just want to let everybody know the opposition, you do have 20 minutes for that, as well as the applicant have 20 minutes. And the time, please state your name, madam, and the time will start now.
I'm Judith M. Bailey. I'm in the neighborhood. I live in the Heights. My husband and I purchased our home in 1988. We've been married for 40 years and have lived in the Heights most of that time. So we're old people. And so anyway, let me get started here. We're in opposition to this STR. My name is Judith M. Bailey, and I'm a longtime resident in the residential neighborhood of the Heights in Little Rock. I oppose this proposed zoning application at 2008 North Grand Street. I received many complaints on the Nextdoor website about this situation. Neighbors are vehemently against this type of zoning change. I oppose this because the owner wants to put a short-term commercial rental business in this single-family home. It has been used as a single-family home since it was built in 1936. Several issues concern me. The owner will be an absentee landlord. She lives and works out of state. This property, if approved, will be a commercial business in a residential neighborhood at the expense of long-term residents who live not only next door and down the street, but throughout the Heights. There are no guarantees that the renters will behave. We know from previous STR locations in the city that problems like noise, parking, parties, roaming the neighborhood are serious problems that will eventually come up. Neighbors will be reduced to acting as daily watchdogs, which is what has happened already, of the property to make sure that renters and the owner are in compliance with both the city rules and the Airbnb rules. Even though there will be a local host to manage the property, this person is not there 24/7. There will be no vested interest in the mental and emotional health of the neighborhood. This is strictly a business deal. Some technical issues are, and I have a PowerPoint. Okay, so this first one is the street, and this is at the corner where the art house is. I took this photo, I think on the weekend, and there were already 2 cars parked there, and there wasn't much room. Let me see what the next one looks like. Okay. All right, am I supposed to point it at something, or this PowerPoint's supposed to, is Brad here? Brad?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, they're working on that. I'll just continue talking. The house is okay, so some technical issues with this particular house. The house is directly in front of the firehouse. There are approximately 30 feet from the curb to curb with no parking restrictions on either side of the street. So that's a good one there. And the firehouse is on the opposite side of the street there. We measured the street. If friends and partygoers park on the street with an average width of a car being 8 to 10 feet, that gives the fire truck a tight 20 feet to turn and get out quickly for an emergency response. And that really presents a safety hazard. The fire truck trying to make that turn down the street is extremely tight, 20 feet. You know how big a fire truck is, and their trucks are standard size fire trucks. They're really big. Another point is that if you'll notice, okay, I must be doing something wrong here because I don't seem to be,
Yeah, just tell him when you want to
okay,
change it. He
so I
will
don't know,
click it
put
for you,
on-
okay?
Okay, so you can see here, okay, all right, I'll get to that one in a minute.
Yes, madam, he will
That's
change.
good, that's a good one. That's
All you have to say is next, and he would change it.
There are no sidewalks on this street, and we're talking about safety issues here. It's an extremely, especially dangerous hazard for children, adults doing their daily walks and runs. One has to walk in the street to get to Kavanaugh. Also, the corner is often blocked by the Art House, which you already saw that photo, the owner at 200 North Harrison. His art projects have taken up the whole corner there practically. He parks his car and other random vehicles on the corner often, which you saw previously, making it more dangerous because you must walk at least 8 feet or more out to the middle of the street to get to the sidewalk on Kavanaugh, which is extremely dangerous. This is not safe for a public commercial use, which is what she wants to use this property for. Continuing here. If you'll notice on this particular, I wanted to address other safety issues here. The American Disabilities Administration requires that this house be handicap accessible since it will not be owner occupied. And I do have a handout here with the ADA rules on that, as well as, and Miss And if you'll look, you can look at that. There's one that's for the ADA and the other one is for permits. Requires it to be handicap accessible since it will not be owner occupied, and that's stated in their rules. Notice that the curb is still intact and there's a step up there. So you're looking at the curb right there in the front walkway to the house. And there are several steps on both sides of the front porch. So there's steps at the front porch, and then if you look to the right, there's steps at the right side of the porch that go down to the driveway. The porch has no railings. There are no handrails and railings to get onto the front porch. I think there's three or four steps there with no hand railings. You can't, if you're handicapped or you're elderly, it's very difficult to get up to the front door. The porch has no railings, dangerous for children and adults who could potentially fall off the porch. There's no railings on that porch. You can see there's two bushes there, but there's no railings, and she has porch furniture on there. So it's not handicap accessible or compliant. And if you'll look at the ADA handout there, and I know it's in really tiny print, but I've highlighted a few things. But there's a whole bunch of other things that she would have to comply with. And I do believe the back porch also has no railings on it either, which is dangerous for, if people coming from, whoever rent that place don't know. I mean, it's just not safe. Okay. Also, in the backyard, there's a huge cement half pipe. Okay, let's go to the next photo, please. Okay, there's the parking lot, but there you can see where there's okay, there's the backyard. That's a good one. Let's go to the backyard. Yeah, Brad, that one there. That's good. I think we have 4 in the backyard, and these photos were taken from the neighbor's backyard, just to be clear. And this is a cement half pipe. It's a skateboarding structure that was built several years ago. It's approximately 50 feet wide and 5 feet high on the top resting parts. It's made out of concrete. It's concrete and cinder blocks. The fence is 6 foot high, not leaving any room for privacy for the neighbor's backyard. These measurements, I don't believe, comply with zoning rules for this type of structure. And I did try to get the rules from Mr. Paul Fimple at zoning, and I have to say, he really didn't want to talk to me. He was extremely frustrated because people were complaining about this thing and this house. So all he did was ramble on, and then he hung up on me. And all I wanted to find out was what the rules were on the setback and permits for this thing. Now, it's my understanding when this was built, there was no permit made for it because it was built by the woman who owned that house. It was built by her son, and he was in college at the time. So you can all look into that, but I do not believe that this structure in her backyard is legal. It is also a safety hazard. You can do another photo there. Okay, that's all this overgrown stuff between that and the garage. And then the next photo, okay, there you can kind of see it in the background. You can see the half pipe there, and you can see how high it is against the fence there. I mean, it's almost as high as the fence. And what the kids would do is they'd sit on it and drink beer and laugh and joke and make big mess up there and roll back and forth, and it was noisy. The neighbors behind the house have no privacy because the half-pipe use is unregulated. There is no privacy for neighbors to enjoy their backyards. Evidently, this was already an issue with the previous owners. It needs to be removed to make it safe because it's not safe back there. If rezoning is granted, who is to say the owner cannot eventually turn her lovely French door garage into more bedrooms? It could sleep another 3 or 4 people easily. More cars, more strangers, more noise, more activity, more tight street parking, more people walking in the street. No one to monitor the activities until a complaint is filed. A good neighbor is respectful of the neighborhood's characteristics and quality of life concerns. The Heights neighborhood has a separate and vibrant commercial district, separate from the residential area for this reason. That's why it was zoned separately, residential and commercial. As the neighborhood will change, others will change the quality of life as we know it, slowly eroding what home ownership means to us. As a city, we have plenty of hotels and motels to take care of tourists and visitors' needs. We don't need to start a trend of cannibalizing our neighborhood's homes in the Heights for short-term hotel use. I urge the Planning Commission members to vote against this rezoning request. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And the last card, Jim Pfeiffer, would you like to speak or defer?
Yeah, no, Jim, speak. Thank you, appreciate y'all.
I think we have approximately, is it 6.5 minutes left?
Yeah, I own both office and residential property within 2 blocks of the site, and I endorse everything that was just said. I also represent over 70 people who, in 24 hours in the rain, signed their names and addresses in opposition of this for many of the same reasons that have been expressed to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we would like to bring the applicant back up here. And feel free to state your name again, madam, and if you want to address any of the concerns, or you can go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jody Bowl, and I own the property personally at 2008 North Harrison Street. There is a picture that I sent to Brad I'd like to pull up, if we can put it up, please. It's just one picture. And I'll get started while they're pulling that picture up. Oh, there we go. That's a nicer picture than the one you just saw of the street in the crack. First of all, I'd like to start off by addressing some of the public's concerns, some of my neighbors. I actually don't know where they live. I know both my neighbors on both sides, and I'm good friends with them, both Michelle and Laura. I go to dinner with Laura every time I'm in town, which is quite often. My parking situation is a non-issue. This is a very small home. It's barely 1,300 square feet. I spent a lot of time and money redoing that whole driveway, and you can actually get over 4 cars on that driveway if you wanted. I've only had 1 car in that driveway, but I've spent a lot of time and effort making it very safe and appealing to park on the driveway. As regarding traffic, my property, which is only about 200 linear feet from Kavanaugh Boulevard, is already near the business district. Across the street from me is a pharmacy, a chiropractor, a liquor store, many bars, and restaurants. You don't even have to drive through the neighborhood to get to my home. As far as noise is concerned, this is a very small home. It's barely 1,300 square feet, as I mentioned. Even so, my mandatory rental agreement will have a good neighbor policy which prohibits gatherings and no more than 4 guests. This is only a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Between the bars, the fire station, and the outdoor veterinarian dog kennel, which is outside, my property will have no more impact on noise in the neighborhood. It's a very quiet home, and I'm there about 1 week every month. I am not an absentee owner whatsoever. This is not a business deal. I am retired. I own a technology company in Austin, Texas. I don't need this for the money. I basically bought this home because my daughter did her residency at Arkansas Children's, which, by the way, is a fabulous children's hospital. And I came with her and stayed with her sometimes during the residency, and we both fell in love with Little Rock, and I plan to retire in Little Rock. And hopefully I will make amends with my neighbors, because I don't take it personally that they're very sensitive to short-term rental in the neighborhood. Where I live in Austin, I live around short-term rentals. And I think being a good neighbor is very, very important, and I do respect that for them. I do not plan on jeopardizing my relationship with both the neighbors that I have by not doing the things I need to do to make sure that this is a successful rental. I also am a preservationist, by the way. I do love preserving older homes, and I fell in love with this home because it was older. And I want to address a few things that they brought up here. One, that little skate concrete skate thing in the back was there when I bought it. I wasn't happy about it when I bought it either. So if you would like to help me get rid of it, we'll go out there with a sledgehammer and do it. But nobody has had any problem with it, and I never use it. And by the way, it would be a huge liability if anybody did use it. So my clientele are people in their 50s, 60s, a couple, a professional, a nurse. They're not skateboarding in the back of my property. I understand that there's a few folks that have rallied on Nextdoor, 2 of them are here, to abolish STRs by promoting a petition against my application due to a few bad experiences on other properties in other areas. I don't take this personally, as I know their effort is more about getting my application denied as a way to stop STRs on a whole. They're not happy with STRs. They don't want them. But the city did approve to have STRs, and only 500, which is not very many. Not all STRs are bad, as many do add value to the community. I had a text from my neighbor last night that said, I really hope that your STR gets approved, because when we travel, we love to stay in neighborhoods because it really gives us a flair of the community and the character of the neighborhoods. I also recently had a woman reach out to me who was interested in renting my home on a weekly basis so that she could be near her adult son who is ill and help take care of his children without having to impose on the family and stay at their home. I told her I couldn't do it because I'm not approved yet, but I think that that shows the value of some of these rentals. You know, somebody taking care of their son, and they live literally down Harrison. I'm not going to say their name because of privacy, but I think that that's a really wonderful thing to be able to offer. I believe through the new ordinance, the city is working hard to weed out the bad properties that are jeopardizing the good ones. I don't think that the actions of a few should penalize my approval when I have done nothing wrong. The city has already approved allowing up to 500 STRs in Little Rock, which, by the way, the Heights is part of Little Rock. I trust the committee and the board that will find my STR application fits into their vision and graciously ask for your approval of my application. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bowl. Is it Ms. Bold or Ball?
Bowl.
Bold?
Bowl, B-O-L-E, like Dole pineapples with a B.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Bowl. Thank you. All right, I'm going to open this up to any commissioners. Do you have any particular questions here for the applicant? If not, we can, if there's a motion on the table.
Motion to approve item D, Z 9837, with all staff comments, conditions.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second? Yeah, we have a motion and a second. And can we get a roll call, please?
Samad,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Haynes, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bold, for coming out, and thank you everybody for coming out. And we're going to move right along here to the next item, item number 4, and that item is item number A. Brad, could you please do the reading for me, please?
Mr. Gosden, who is the planning manager, will be presenting this item.
Thank you.
This is item number A, LU 2023-14-02. Land use plan amendment, Geyer Springs East, residential low to commercial. The applicant requests a future land use plan map amendment in the Geyer Springs East Planning District, changing approximately 0.5 acres from residential low density to commercial at 4400 Baseline Road. There is an accompanying rezoning request, item A1, Z9815, R2 to C3. The applicant area is in a partially developed portion of Little Rock. The land in the vicinity was annexed in 1982. The application site has been vacant since 2019, when a single-family structure was removed. The application site and the parcel to the west are accessed from Baseline Road and are zoned R2 and shown as RL on the future land use map. The parcel to the west of the site has a vacant single-family home that has been boarded up. The land on the north of Baseline between North Lane and Doyle Springs Road has 3 residences in R2. Then to the northeast corner of Baseline and Doyle Springs Road has a car wash in a planned commercial development district. The north half of the western boundary of the application site abuts a non-conforming use with an auto repair which faces North Lane. North, on the west side of North Lane, is also an existing non-conforming use as a daycare. The properties along North Lane are all zoned R2. To the east of the application site is O2 zoning, amended by Ordinance 15793 in 1990. Much of the development in the East Sky Springs Planning District occurred before annexation into the city of Little Rock and was not subject to zoning controls. This resulted in haphazard placement of commercial uses encroaching into single-family residential neighborhoods. One of the prime purposes of the land use plan is to protect and stabilize existing neighborhoods. Numerous curb cuts and uneven setbacks cause visual problems and create traffic hazards. The land use plan has tried to address these problems by limiting the amount of commercial land use. The plan attempts to discourage further strip commercial development along these major roads by showing commercial at the major intersections and in some areas of concentrated commercial use along the arterials. Along most of Baseline Road in these areas, there is little or no existing commercialization. The plan shows Office O as a future development pattern. The application site is in a residential low-density area along the edge of a single-family neighborhood and is not at a major intersection. Adding a commercial use in this location conflicts with the land use plan's purpose to protect and stabilize existing neighborhoods. The introduction of non-residential use on this site could have impacts on the surrounding single-family developments. A change in an area such as this should be done only with protections for the existing residential areas.
This land use plan amendment is directly related to item A1, Z9815, rezoning from R2 to C3, 4400 Baseline Road. The applicant proposes to rezone the .504 acre property located at 4400 Baseline Road from R2 to C3 for their future commercial development. The site is currently undeveloped and mostly gravel covered. The gravel drive from Baseline Road serves as access to the property. Single-family residences and zoning are located north, south, and west of the site. A large undeveloped O3 zone property is located to the east. A mixture of zoning and uses is located further east and west along Baseline Road. Staff is not supportive of the requested C3 rezoning. Staff views the requested C3 zoning as too intensive for the site. The property is relatively small with single-family residences located immediately to the north and west, and undeveloped O3 zone property to the east. Staff believes that the requested C3 zoning does not comply with the existing zoning pattern in this area. Staff recommends denial of the requested land use plan amendment and C3 rezoning.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant present for item number A, LU 2023-14-02? Or if the applicant is not present, then they've already had 2 deferrals?
Yes, sir. They cannot have another deferral.
All right, so at this time, they will have to resubmit a new application?
Yes, Chair, since the applicant's not here, we cannot take action on that item, but what this calls for is a withdrawal of this item. Has to be a new application, so the commission will have to vote for withdrawal. And then you can choose to withdraw with or without prejudice. What that means is if the withdrawal is put without prejudice, that means they can file a new application at any time. With prejudice, they will not be able to file for 1 year anything that is identical or substantially identical.
So I have a question here, and that's left up to the board with or without prejudice?
Yes, that is left up to the commission.
Okay, and the staff doesn't have any recommendations on that or how this process does, being that they had 2 deferrals has already been deferred. Now this is a 3rd time.
We do not have a recommendation. That is up to the chair. Typically, for us, I could just say that the planning commission and the board, when any application comes before them, whether if it's denied, then we stick to that same year deferral, or it can't be heard if it's identical or substantially identical. And so if staff would make a recommendation, it would be that we would adhere to the same deal as it would be for a denial.
I got you. All right.
I'd like to make a motion to withdraw with prejudice.
Correct.
Item ALU, I guess we're really doing A1, Z9815.
Yes, we have to vote separately. Land use has to be voted on first,
Okay.
then the zoning item on second.
And let me rephrase my motion. A motion to withdraw item ALU 2023-41-02 with prejudice.
We have a motion and a second. All right, roll call, please.
Samad,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Haynes, Latour,
Yeah.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes. Okay.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. I guess we will go down to A1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got an A1, and on that, do we have a motion for A1?
Yes, a motion to withdraw item A1Z-9815 with prejudice.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Can we get a roll call, please?
Samad,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Haynes, Latour,
Yeah.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to move along to the next item. We have 2 left here, and we're going to do the next item. It's item number 7Z-9854. Can we have the reading, please?
Item 7Z9854, Wyatt 1, PD-R, 2504 West 18th Street. The applicant is proposing to rezone a .16 acre site from R3 to PD-R to construct a 1,924 square foot 2-family duplex residence. Development will also include a 1,032 square foot 2-story detached garage, which will add another apartment on the site for a total of 3 units. The site is zoned R3 and located at 2504 West 18th Street. The site plan indicates each unit will contain 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms for the duplex use, with a front building setback of 25 feet and a 5-foot building setback on the east and west property lines. Regarding the detached garage apartment, the applicant is requesting a 15-foot setback along the rear property line. The proposed parking design shows a detached garage, parking pad, and driveway at the rear of the property to be accessed via the alley. The applicant notes there is sufficient on-street parking along West 18th Street for as many as 5 vehicles, 2 parking spaces in the garage, 2 parking spaces in the driveway, and 1 parking pad. Staff is not supportive of the requested PD-R rezoning. Staff feels the site is too small and will be overdeveloped to contain both a 2-family residence duplex and a detached garage apartment in the rear portion of the property, thus creating 3 units on a 0.16 acre site. Staff also feels the proposed on-site parking is not sufficient to serve the use. Staff feels the proposed PD-R request will be out of character with the properties in the general area and potentially increase traffic that will have an adverse impact on the area. Staff is supportive of the development for 1 2-family residence duplex on the site, which more aligns with the ordinance requirements for conditional use request in the R3 zoning district and is more characteristic of the development pattern in the general area. Staff recommends denial of the requested PD-R rezoning.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present?
Chairman, just a question. Are we going to offer a deferral opportunity
Yes.
to items?
Yes, we are.
Good.
Yes, sir. So applicant, you have the same rights as the other applicants. We have 7 commissioners here and you need 6 approvals. You can take a deferral to the next meeting, which will be next month in December. Would you like to defer or would you like to move forward?
Well, if I present our case and it goes badly, can we defer afterwards?
No.
No, thank you. We will choose to defer on this and also item 8 as well.
Okay, so you said both items?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
You would need to vote
separately, right?
Separately,
Yeah.
yes.
So we would need to vote separately on that. So on item number 7, Z-9854, the applicant chose to defer until the next available meeting.
Make a motion to approve the deferral
Thank you.
until the next meeting.
You have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we please get a roll call for item 7, please?
Samad,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Haynes, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that item 7 has been deferred. Now, item 8, Z-9855. Can the applicant please come back up, please? And we're going to give you the same rights as the other applicants here under your item here because we have 7 commissioners and you need 6 for approval. Would you like to defer to the next available meeting or would you like to move forward?
We would like to defer, please.
Thank you very much, sir. So the applicant has chosen to defer. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the deferral of item 8, Z-9855 until the next planning commission meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Great. We have a motion on the table and a second for item number 8, Z-9855. Can we please get a roll call?
Samad,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Haynes, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person, Thomas,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart. Motion passes.
Thank you very much, sir. Do we have any other business on the table?
Just a compliment for Commissioner Samad, brand new. It's tough to be the new commissioner. We've all been there, but it's even worse when you're the leadoff voter.
That's what I was thinking.
Congratulations. Welcome and congratulations to him for surviving.
Hey, great,
I'd like to
great
thank
job. Welcome our new commissioner, Commissioner Smart.
Lead off. I'd like to thank Commissioner Samaj for taking the lead-off spot from me by joining the commission.
You're welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the board here. We definitely appreciate your service.
Thank you so much.
And hold on, we have before we adjourn. Jamie, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, Chairman Vickers, I want to just make a announcement for the commission. The Board of Directors has looked at and passed a resolution to contingent upon the Planning Commission reviewing it, because that is the process of changing a portion of Arch Street to Bruce T. Moore Way. That will be Arch Street, 4th Street North. So essentially behind the federal buildings, north to the river. We are following through our notification procedures, so it will be on your December agenda item. This is just an information purposes only at this time to let you know that that is coming through, and the board's intent of wanting the name of Bruce T. Moore Way at that location.
That is very
Awesome.
That is awesome. Thank you very much, Jamie. And then just to also just say almost maybe a prayer or just a quiet thought for our former city manager and very esteemed. He is very liked by everyone. Mr. Bruce Moore, his fiance, his family, his children, his family, and everyone. So if we can just please just take a few seconds for his honor. Thank you all very much. Are there any other business?
Well, thank you to Paul Latour and his service since this is his last meeting.
Yes,
Thank you.
Commissioner, again, Commissioner Paul Latour, we thank you very much,
twice.
sir.
Thank you very much. Been a pleasure.
Seems like he served a long time, but he served twice. He come back for a second gluttony because it's just didn't want to leave us.
That's true.
All right, thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it.
If there's not anything else, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.